Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. The state of California is going to be receiving over $500 million for broadband deployments from the Capital Projects Fund. Be right back with the details. Thanks for joining me. Rick Uzzi here with Broadband Deployment News. So that's a lot of money, state of California. Over $500 million. You see here, Treasury Department announces approval of federal funding to connect 127,000 California homes and businesses to affordable high-speed internet. I've linked to this story as well as a couple of others in the description here if you want to check that out later. I won't go through every single word in here, but just a few of the facts. So you got $540.2 million for high-speed internet projects in California under the American Rescue Plan's Capital Projects Fund. Largest single infusion of broadband funding to a state under the CPF. The state will use its funding to connect approximately 127,000 homes and businesses to affordable high-speed internet. So that comes out, I did the math, comes out to $4,242 and $152. Is that right? $4,252 per location. Now, there's no match that I'm aware of required in the CPF. So I don't think that necessarily means that California can't require a match. So I don't know if that's going to be how much per location, or if the internet service providers or the grantees are going to have to kick in more. But certainly that's a good amount of money, $4,200 plus, to cover these 127,000 homes and businesses. Lots of quotes in here. I won't go through. You can read through this again if you want to check the description there. There's a link. The CPF provides $10 billion to states, territories, and freely associated states and tribal governments to fund critical capital projects that enable work, education, and health monitoring in response to the public health emergency. So this was part of the American Rescue Plan Act, the Capital Projects Fund. So this was, that was passed during the pandemic. The health emergency just recently, I think, has been canceled by the Biden administration, but obviously we still got these programs out there. So it was determined at that point, obviously, that there was a real issue with broadband service in places as people started working from home and doing school from home, and they realized their home internet was really not up to snuff as far as being able to do those kinds of things that would need more bandwidth. So you can see all the things here that the CPF can allocate, but a lot of states have used this money really primarily, if not completely. I think California, maybe in their case, completely for broadband projects because of that need. So we look at money that we're waiting, and we're always like, is there going to be enough money in BEAD to be able to provide internet to all of these unserved and underserved locations in the United States? And at first it was like, yeah, it really looks like there is, at least to me. And then of course we had inflation really hit us hard, and interest rates went up. So and everything can help. And here you're seeing a huge amount of money going to California. Again, over $500 million going towards broadband. So this is going to take, they were saying about 16% of the remaining locations in California that this will take care of that. So that is a big step. Now, California is expected to get, estimates are like $1.3 billion from BEAD. So again, this is a significant amount of money towards that to help alleviate broadband issue there, and that will certainly make that BEAD money go even further. So this is good news for California. California's Last Mile Broadband Expansion Grant Program is a new competitive grant program designed to provide internet access to areas of the state currently lacking access to reliable broadband at speeds of 25 by 3. Now, the Capital Projects Fund says anybody under 100 by 20 can use this fund. So there's not, unlike BEAD, there's not a underserved and an unserved. Whereas underserved in BEAD is 100 by 20, and anybody with less than that. Here, anything under 100 by 20 these funds can be used for that. But it looks like California is going to prioritize anybody under 25 by 3 first, which is really what BEAD is doing, if you look at it that way. Plan approved by the Treasury Department today represents 100% of the state's total allocation under the CPF. Yeah, so they're using 100% of their funds that they're getting from the CPF. Now, there's also another fund in ARPA called the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, and that's $350 billion. So not just $10 billion, $350 billion. And a lot of states have used money from that as well. That can be used towards broadband. So there's a lot of money in ARPA that's being put to use. And again, every dollar that's being put to use from that is a dollar that does not have to be used from the BEAD program. So again, I still think that we're going to be able to cover I think states are looking at this carefully. There's going to be matching funds with BEAD, and there may be matching funds on some of these other programs if the states require that. So I think between all of that, I think that we're going to get to the goal of getting broadband everywhere. Now, there may be some areas that don't get fiber, but they're still going to have, I think, reliable broadband internet service. Hopefully, most every area in a state can get fiber. There are going to be some areas that are just really too remote. That's not going to be the case. But anyway, I'm still confident. It says here, experts, in accordance with the Treasury Department's guidance, each state plans requires service providers to participate in the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program. That's the program pays $30, a $30 subsidy to the ISP that they then pass through to the consumer if they qualify for low-income kinds of programs, the ACP, or $75 if they're on tribal lands. Now, the ACP is going to run out of money probably early next year, so there's questions kind of swirling around that and how that continues. But all of the providers that take this money have to participate in the ACP. Experts estimate that nearly 40% of U.S. households are eligible for the program. So 40%, and that's one reason we're running out of money. 40% of the households in the United States are eligible for this program. I don't think 40% of the households in the United States should be eligible for the ACP. It seems to me like that's more folks than should be eligible. I think the ACP or any kind of subsidy program like this should be really aimed at those who are really low income. And it's easy to say that when you're not in that situation, I suppose, but that just seems like a lot of households. Now, currently, we just passed the threshold of 33% of the 40% have signed up for the ACP. So they're really pushing the program. So out of the 40% of U.S. households that are eligible, 33% of those have signed up. So that's 17 million plus households. When I last looked at the number a couple of days ago, 17 million households have now signed up for the ACP. And I did some math on that. This program, the ACP program, was $14 billion. It was part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, where $14 billion would be allocated for the Affordable Connectivity Program. There was already some money in that program from the coronavirus package that passed, another coronavirus package that had the emergency broadband benefit in it, and that was specifically aimed at people that were having an issue getting broadband or affording broadband because of the pandemic. So, for example, they were thrown out of work. The ACP made it strictly about low income, didn't matter, nothing to do with that. And some of those funds were carried over from the emergency broadband situation or fund because it just hadn't been used up yet when this passed. So some of that money was transferred over. And we're thinking now, based on the number of people that have signed up for the ACP and the subsidies that are available, the $30 or $75, depending on whether you're on tribal lands or not, that it's probably going to run out early next year. So I did some math, and if we passed the same amount of money again, let's say $14 billion, if Congress did go in and say, okay, we're going to pass for another period $14 billion more, then it'll last about 2 years. So, and that's with the current number of subscribers on it. So again, 33% of the 40% that are eligible. Obviously, if we got all 40% on, then it would last less than a year. So again, it's difficult. I've said that I think that we need to look at other ways to fund that, primarily probably through consumers that are buying broadband services and possibly edge providers and content providers that are benefiting from the broadband that's being used in the country. The Treasury Department began announcing state awards in June of last year. To date, 39 states have been approved to invest approximately $5.9 billion of the CPF in affordable, reliable, high-speed internet, which those states estimate will reach more than 1.75 million locations. Treasury Department will continue approving state and tribal plans on a rolling basis. So it's not done. There's still more money in the capital projects fund that states can use. Now, states can use that, like California is doing, for providing broadband to, let's say, last mile kinds of service in areas that don't have good service. They can also use that money for matching funds for the BEAD program. So the BEAD program has a minimum of 25% match, but it is okay if a state were to need to help on these matching funds, because it's going to be hard. If there's certain internet service providers, some can afford that, but smaller internet service providers, certainly local internet service providers, may have a hard time with that 25% match, and states are going to try maybe to even require a bigger match. So they can actually use funds from ARPA to do that match. Some may kick in some money and have the internet service provider kick in some money to try to balance things out. But that's another use that can be for these funds. And I just want to pull up a couple of other stories here that shows again that all of these funds that are being made available and that will start construction are going to mean that the BEAD funding that we're going to get is going to go further, because these are areas that are going to have broadband. So even if these funds are not being put to use by the time that BEAD allocations are made and money is sent, let's say BEAD allocations are made, these are still committed funds. So any BEAD allocations will not be in these areas, even if the construction doesn't start. They're committed funds. So for example, here, Alabama in early stages of plans for using $500 million on their own for high-speed internet expansion. Alabama committed $537 million in federal funds for high-speed internet under plans state lawmakers and Governor Kay Ivey approved last year and during a special session this month. And this was back in March, late March, this story. The money allocated is 1/4 of the $2 billion Alabama received from the American Rescue Plan Act. So they're not using it all at this point. You can see it was $277 million in broadband funds for last year and another $260 million this month, or that was in March. And then another story, this month, 2 states get set to award $362 million in broadband funding. The states of Colorado and Pennsylvania have released details about upcoming broadband funding programs. Colorado's Advanced Colorado Broadband Grant Program plans to award $162 million, and Pennsylvania's Broadband Infrastructure Program has a budget of $200 million. Both programs are funded through the Capital Projects Fund, which was created in the American Rescue Plan Act. So, and these are just a couple of stories recently. So I know my state, the state of Georgia, has, I think if I remember, it was like over $400 million that we've gotten through ARPA that we've already committed. So all of these dollars, again, are going towards broadband projects that will then be off of the map for BEAD. So all of this is helping as we look to BEAD funding. It's going to be reducing the amount that the states need to reach the unserved and underserved areas in their states. So that's good news. Thanks for joining me. If this was interesting or helpful, if you would please give me a like on the video, I'd appreciate that. If you're not subscribed in YouTube, click the subscribe button, click the little bell to be notified when I am live. And I will be live next week, several days next week. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you then for broadband deployment news. Take care. Bye-bye.